Please help me give a warm welcome and put your hands together for our host, Jennie Jarvis.
Hello there. Welcome to the Producing an Indie Short Film in Florida panel. My name is Jennie Jarvis. I am a course director in the Film Production MFA program here at Full Sail University. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of turn it down the line. We're going to allow our panelists to introduce themselves, and if you guys can say who you are, what you do, and just a sentence or two about your experience with short filmmaking or just filmmaking in general here in Florida.
Hi, I'm Sheena. I'm the Orlando Film Commissioner. We cover a multiple county region here in Central Florida. And I'm also over technology innovation, so really looking to unite the traditional content production community and future tech efforts that we can do.
Hi, I'm Valeska Freire. I am an alumni from the MFA program in film production. I work as a producer and assistant director as a freelancer, and I also run a local production company called Magic House Films.
My name is John Lux. I'm the executive director of Film Florida. We're a not-for-profit trade association. We're membership-based. We have members from Pensacola down to Key West, and our main mission and goal as an organization is to grow and strengthen the entire film, television, and digital media industry. I'm thankful to be here, and I'm actually based here in Central Florida, which makes it really convenient to watch the evolution of Full Sail through the years.
Hello, my name is Priscilla Rojas. I'm a TV and film producer. I live in Miami, and I have a production company that is called Alpha Entertainment Services. Pretty much we do all about short films, so when they told me to talk about here, I was like, yeah, we'll do it for sure.
All right, excellent. Well, what I'd love to open up with is just kind of, let's talk about filmmaking in Florida. I mean, everyone talks about, you know, when you graduate, you should go to Los Angeles, you should go to New York, you should go to Atlanta, at least for the time being. You know, what is it that Florida has to offer? What are some of the unique things that, you know, filmmakers can find in Florida, whether they're making a short film or a feature film overall?
I'll dive in. I think what's unique about Florida is we have this exceptional diverse location base. So the identity of architecture in the state of Florida is very multicultural. I've shot a pilot for San Diego. I don't have a beach in my jurisdiction, yet we were able to find enough architecture that worked for that. We can find swamps, we can find jungles, we can find cities, we can find elevated areas in which you fill in with a CG. So when you look at that, you have an infrastructure also with all of your studios, the schools, the talent that's here, and so you can produce something for a lower cost with a higher value. And when you look at not having to spend your time and money on company moves, the radius of resources that we have in this short area is really immense. So talking to the people in this community, collaborating, I think you find a really, really incredible wealth of support to make the production that you want to make here.
I think it's great that Florida has pretty much summer all year long. And although it could sound like, okay, that means really hot days, but that also means longer daylight for production, which is incredibly valuable. Believe it or not, I feel like dealing with heat, it's easier than dealing with extreme cold. For example, working in New York, sometimes it gets like really difficult. And the fact that Full Sail is here, at least in Central Florida, gives you like so much access to so many people that is prepared and looking for working opportunity. And Miami also produces a lot of film and a lot of television, so the pool of talent that is in there, it's really accessible. And even if you are not South, but if you're in Central Florida, people will be willing to travel throughout the state really easily.
I think one of the things that I like to focus on most is the customer service part of our industry when it comes to cast and crew. We may not have the volume of film and television production as some other locations, and I think that leads to our industry professionals being a little more hungry in terms of when a project comes to town, they're willing to go a little bit that extra mile. And Whereas other locations, potentially, if they don't get this job, they might get the next one or the next one. And I think that leads a little bit to complacency. I think that's one of the things that you can't ever put a price tag on is customer service and professionalism and knowing where to be and when to be there a step before somebody tells you. And those are the kind of things, the intangibles that you know, you don't get with an incentive program. You get that with the people. And when all else fails, effort goes a long way.
Well, for me, in Miami, at least, I believe the multicultural people that we have here in Florida is awesome because you know a lot of people from different countries, and also they help you to understand many things that probably you didn't think about, and that makes us like rich in a certain way. And also because, I don't know, in Miami you can do anything you want. You have the beaches, you have mountains, well, mountains, you don't have mountains here, sorry. You have like the Everglades, but there's a really good locations here in Miami. I have the opportunity to make a TV show that was about tourism, and what we shot those days were amazing. I never thought that we have that in Florida. So there's a lot of locations that too many filmmakers can look here in Florida that probably they don't have it in other cities.
Yeah, and I think John touched on a little bit kind of the customer service aspect that exists for filmmakers here that you may not find in other territories. And I think that Sheena's being a little humble in terms of what her office can provide to filmmakers. Do you want to help clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, I'm really lucky because there's a long line of people who have run the Orlando Film Commission with this mission to do it our way. Not necessarily the way that the industry's supposed to work, but we consider ourselves an extension of your crew. And we were just chatting, you know, we've talked via email over the years, and now she works with some of the other folks in my office directly on permits. And we want you to build that level of trust, like just what John said. It's about going that extra mile. I don't have an incentive to offer you, but I have my ideas, my experience, and that willingness to help you in every step of the way. Our worst nightmare at the Orlando Film Commission is that you run into a dead end and you don't know to call us. We want to be that innovation partner with you to where you're going to say, look, this is really what I want to capture. These are the locations what I'm thinking of. And we can say, yes, and did you think about this? And did you know you could do it over here? And let's call this person. They can help you out too. And so that's what we want you to really walk away with, and knowing what the Orlando Film Commission brings and what the Orlando region brings, because it's not just about our office, it's about the wealth of people in this community that are willing to help you and achieve it. And we just may be that connector, right? But it's an incredible community to play with.
Yeah, and there's quite a number of our other Hall of Fame alumni that have told Sheena that their experiences with other film commissions is not the same. It's not the same.
So as somebody that have actually produced many projects in here, I've had a lot of experience with the Orlando Film Commission. And I was just telling her that I think it's pretty amazing the work that they do. Not only their customer service is great, they reply emails. They actually reply them pretty fast, which is incredibly helpful when you're producing and you need like fast turnaround. The permits here are free, which does not happen in many other film commissions. So that's an incredible incentive, especially for people that are producing like short films or working with lower budgets. And another resource that I really liked about working with them is that they will, as she said, they would help you not to get to that debt end. So for example, in the past, I've been wanting to film in a specific park, and I've been wanting to get a permit to fly drones in there, but it's not possible because they're too close to the airport. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the location we scout, this is the perfect one. But then I have somebody from the Film Commission come over and recommend me other parks that had the specific look that I was looking for, that I could get a permit for. And this is something that like I wouldn't have known because you don't have time to go to all the parks. So they would always be down to recommend you locations. And trust me, at least in Central Florida, there's so many more locations available for film than we think there are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest recommendations I would make, regardless of where you film here in Florida, is the first call should be to the local film commission. I mean, we're very lucky to have Sheena and Lindsay and their team here, but all over the state for the exact reason that we've been talking about. Number one is permitting. You need to check in on permitting. I mean, it's one of the most important things. You can start off a whole production on the wrong foot if you just have the assumption, I don't need a permit. When they're free, there's no reason not to make the call. And their office is great about asking that next question, and a lot of local film commissions are as well. So you may call with a permitting question, and you might get your next 3 questions that you didn't even know you had yet taken care of, and use them as a resource. Your time is very valuable. They have the knowledge to instill what they've done for years and years and years. Use them for all that they are worth, literally. So make sure you're reaching out for permitting. Permitting is really important for a number of different reasons. Obviously, from your perspective, making sure you have the proper rights and clearances to be in the location, but it also helps their office. If they know that they're helping out 5 new productions in a day, they add that to their tally sheet. And then when their bosses go to them and say, well, how many productions did you help with this week? And they can say, we helped with 55 productions this week. It's job security. We all want job security. And,
Thank you, John.
And honestly, it's a trickle down. You might think, well, it's just a little permit. It's not a big deal. But it allows them to justify their existence. And that means that they can help everybody else in this room, and they can help the next round of graduates. And all these things are a trickle down on why it's important to grow and strengthen our industry here in Florida. One little thing kind of getting off track means maybe their office doesn't think they need 4 people in their office, or 3 people, or 2 people, and all of a sudden the service gets lowered. So just from the very beginning, use the film office for everything that they're worth. That's why they're here, and they're only going to make your product better.
And I think to add on to that, through Film Florida, a lot of the film commissions have become friends, and that Film Florida is the organization in which we gather, we meet, we share best practices, we share ideas. So I think it's a practice common amongst us in Florida that if you come to us and you need a location, you're sharing with us what you need. I may not have it, right? But I'm gonna say, oh, but I'd love for you to call Sandy in Miami. And she can totally help you with that. And you're gonna have a better experience there. And I think most of us share that mindset, that we'd rather develop that relationship with you for the long term. And while it might not be a project in our area this first time, you're gonna know that you had a positive experience and you'll come back. And if it's in the state, our crew is working statewide, and that's the benefit, right? We want the state to continue to work and to thrive and bring more projects here.
And I think it's important to talk about Film Florida. Film Florida has been a wonderful resource for filmmakers for a long time. I remember when I was back in high school, I actually won a scholarship from Film Florida. And this was decades ago. I won't date myself. But John, would you mind talking about kind of what Film Florida is on a little bit of a larger scale, and what resources it does offer for people who are interested in getting involved in filmmaking here in Florida?
Sure. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we're a statewide not-for-profit. We're membership-based, so our ability to do anything is based on whether or not we have members that join the organization. We have student memberships as low as $25 a year. Obviously, they get as many free stickers as you want with that. And then we have corporate members that are well above that. But we're an aggregator of all aspects of the industry. We have local film commissions, the State Film Commission. We have a lot of industry professionals and companies, obviously. Smaller associations that kind of want a larger statewide voice, so they participate. Some labor unions, a lot of educational institutions. Full Sail is a long-term member of the organization and a great partner of ours. And we, as Sheena mentioned, we meet 4 times a year in person. We have committees and councils that work on all the different issues within the state. So we have a legislative committee, we have a marketing committee, we have a finance committee, we have different councils. So we're always talking about how are we growing and strengthening the industry. And that comes in a lot of different facets. And we go to a lot of trade shows, a lot of film festivals, a lot of conferences, and we're there just continuing to tell the story of Florida, to try and bring more projects here, more jobs here. At our core, we're a marketing organization. That's what we do. We market the organization, we market the industry, we market our members, we tell the story of the industry through our members. And so, shameless plug here, please join. There's no harm in doing so. It's $25 for students. You get a nice little free gift and stickers. But we're really there to help. From a student perspective, we want to know what are the concerns for students? What do you guys need? What's the next thing that we as an organization and we as an industry need to be ready for? And then obviously most of you are probably going to be looking for jobs, and one of the better ways to find jobs is to network with people. Yep. And so we do that through meetups and different organizational stuff. Our quarterly meetings move all around the state. We're always here in Central Florida around in December. So I would encourage all of you to, go to the website. It's sitting in front of you on the sticker. Learn more about it, and get involved. Whether it's with us or not, get engaged, get involved. I was a student once, and I remember it's overwhelming because you literally could go to some type of function every single night of the week. But pick out a couple of them. Make sure you get out and get engaged and meet people like Sheena and like these other folks up here, and that's how you're going to make your next step in your career.
And it's, I think filmmaking, independent, corporate, it doesn't matter. It's a series of favors. You run into these moments, you're like, oh, this is a great idea. How do I pull this off? And then you start calling, and it's quick. You always are maybe a step behind to get this incredible moment captured and done. And that's when that networking really comes into play. That's when having organizations like Film Florida and those that you meet through Full Sail and the community as a whole comes in handy, because you never know when you're going to need that favor. And that person that you met 3 weeks ago at an event is that perfect person to help you execute. And chances are they want to help you execute that too. Like the adrenaline rush of pulling something off is, I think, what keeps us in this game.
And I think I think it's important to kind of stress the idea that these organizations, they are for students. They're not just for people that have made it in the industry. And I think that kind of points to my next question, which is, I think there's a bit of a mindset out there that if you're making a short film, it's not really making a film, that it's a lesser production. There's real films, capital F, and then there's the short films that you make until you get to the real things. What do you guys think about that mindset overall?
I think it's funny. It's not true.
I think it's silly because, I think that train of thought comes from the fact that short films do not have as much financial benefit as feature films do. And then a lot of times they do very well more playing in festivals and competitions and things like that. But I think thinking that a short film is not serious is a really silly thing, because all great filmmakers have done shorts. Some of them continue to do shorts even though when they have a bunch of feature films on their resume done just for passion. And also, in order to be able to find financing or to do that pitch for that feature film that you want to do, you need to be able to show someone that you can do this because you've done a really good short film. So, and also, last thing, I personally love going to watch shorts at festivals, and if they were in there, festivals would really suck. So I think short films are awesome.
I think the next 10 years are going to be really interesting for the short films because people don't have attention spans. And if for no other reason, a short film allows you to enjoy the same thing as a feature film in a lot less time. And I think there's going to be a point where people, they're not going to stop going to the movie theater to see films, but I think watching shorts is going to become a lot more popular as less people want to sit in a movie theater for 2.5, 3 hours and watch a long, drawn-out film. And as someone, I don't consider myself a filmmaker. Originally, I was a video editor. That's what I was, an editor, and then I went into the operations and the finance side of the business. And from my perspective, I don't care whether it's a 30-second commercial, a short film, a feature film, a television series, whatever. I just want to know, is the story good? The length of the product is irrelevant to me. Is the story good? If it is, I'll watch a 30-second spot that tells a great story just as much as I'll watch a short film that tells a great story. And so I think less about the length of time and more about the storytelling concept within it. And I'm going to be really interested to see how the industry evolves over the next 10 years as people's attention spans get shorter and shorter with, apps and phones and all these other things. I think the short films are going to really pick up steam over the next decade.
Yeah, with digital media platforms, the short films are like the perfect product for them. For example, Amazon Prime or Hulu or whatever of these digital medias, they are needed like short films or short content because, as you said, there's a lot of people like they just want to look or watch 2 minutes of I don't know, a production. And obviously, for me, the short films are more important right now because there's a lot of stories that too many people want to pretty much set. And obviously, as Valeska said, you need those in order to have experience. You need those in order if you want that, I don't know, in the future, make your future films, or that someone like, hey, this girl made this short film once, and obviously I want her for my project. Or if you want to obviously go to Hollywood, if you don't want to be here in any case, that's the only like your portfolio part. So I believe that's the best thing you can do also here in the university. If you start to do the most short films you can, that's better for your career, and also will give you a lot of experience over that.
And if I can just add the opportunities while you're here in Orlando, Film Slam is every single month at NZN. That rolls into Brouhaha, that rolls into the Florida Film Festival, and the shorts category is Oscar qualifying. So while you're here on campus, look around. You have a full crew from music and graphics and marketers, and it's extraordinary, the breadth of people that exist on this campus. You don't get this once you graduate. You have to go out and find it, even in the most dense markets. It's not as easy as you're going to have it while you're here. Look around, look outside of your degree programs, talk to everyone, talk to your instructors, and create as much content here while you can. Innovate and innovate and innovate, and you're going to find that that's going to create skills that you're going to use for the rest of your life, regardless of what you go into.
And Sheena, with your office, how do you treat a feature production or a television production differently than a short, or do you?
We don't. To the same concept as we don't treat a student any different than a high budget project that's coming through. Everyone gets the same level of experience. There is no student permit. There's no, we need you to start acting like a professional now. You are. You're expected to operate as if you were getting paid to do this project. Learn it. We're going to treat you the exact same way. We're going to answer your questions the same way. But start to learn it now. I mean, when I was a PA, nobody likes to permit. That's really boring, right? But I knew how to do it. I knew how to engage with my local film commission, and we were screwed one day. Somebody needed to pull a permit really quick, and I was like, oh, I'll do that. I'm like, oh, okay. The next job I got promoted. And it's just learning those skills. It's a really easy skill set to be able to have in your back pocket, to show off. But it's just one of those things that you have to do in this industry. We got to make it safe so that you can continue to do really cool things. So figure it out, but don't pretend like just because you're a student, you're not there yet. You are. Professionals who've been doing this for 30 plus years ask the exact same questions.
And now several of you guys have mentioned, film festivals as a great kind of distribution outlet for shorts. I mean, Priscilla also mentioned that like Hulu now has some shorts, Amazon has some shorts. But in terms of film festivals, it does still tend to be the predominant way that shorts get distributed. what are some of the festivals that exist here in Florida that you guys are aware of? Nice little plug for you, Priscilla.
Yeah.
And Priscilla has her own film festival.
Yeah.
And then what are some of the benefits to actually having your short film showing at some of these festivals?
Well, there's a lot of film festival here, Central Florida festivals here. We went there with our thesis and we were projected here. And you had the Brouhaha, but obviously there's a lot of them that can reach you, for example, to go to other important festivals, and also you can have like a step to go for Oscars or other type of, obviously, awards. And in the case of us, I started because I really like horror, suspense, and sci-fi. I did a festival in Miami that is called Miami Fear Fest. And one of the things that I wanted to do it is because, hey, okay, I like this one, but I don't see it here in Miami. Pretty much, obviously, there's a lot of festivals there, but I never see or watch that type of content there. So I started to think, like, why wouldn't do it? We have 3 years right now, and they send us like hundreds of short films that are about, and they're really, really amazing. There's a lot of people here in Miami that do it, for example, or in Orlando too. Most of them are full soul too, and students. And obviously, when we start to do this, it's because we say, hey, we need to start to build like a film community, because I know that Film Florida do it a lot, because I network with a lot of people from there. And that's pretty much what the film festivals do. You have to go there networking and try to find someone that you can take their attention so you can distribute your material or your audiovisual product. So pretty much, if you can, no matter what, first try to have the best you can with your product, but also be prepared when you go there, because the idea is that the people probably they are so busy that they will give you like 2 minutes to talk or something like that. So try to have like like a log line we were talking about a few hours ago, that engage them and want to be part of your product, or in the distribution part, that I believe is the most important thing, because if you do this, it's because you want someone watch it. So
there are a lot of film festivals in Florida. One might say there are too many. and the reason I say that is because I think it dilutes the really good ones. We have a number of film festivals that are members of our organization. They joined our organization because they want us to help promote them, and that's what we're here for. A couple here in Central Florida is the Global Peace Film Festival and Love Your Shorts Film Festival. If you're talking about shorts, there's one that actually, that's all they do is shorts. So I think film festivals are great. I would say, make sure you're careful about the ones that you pursue. There are varying levels of professionalism within the film festival circuit. Me personally, it's hard to keep up with them because there are so many of them, and like we get contacted all the time saying, hey, can you promote my film festival? And if we promoted every single film festival that was going on in the state of Florida, we literally would never do anything except promote them. That's how many there are, and as much as that may be a benefit to the organization, it's just not the core that we do. So we focus on the ones that are members of ours, and that's one of the things that we offer our members. The State Film Commission website, filminflorida.com, I believe has a listing of all of the film festivals that they're aware of in the state. But I will tell you that a lot of those, may be kind of fly-by-night types that decide they're going to do one and then, just figure out that it's hard work and you can't make $1 million off of it the first year and say, forget it, I'm out of here. So be very careful about what you're submitting to, but I would highly encourage you to pursue as many of those options that are reasonable, because getting more airtime and getting more recognition for what you're doing is only going to help in the future.
Yeah. There's also a local film festival that is called the Orlando Film Festival, with which I've had the opportunity to join them. The first time that I went, I was a student. I was actually supporting a teacher that had a film in there. And then I graduated, and the next year I went to the festival, and I actually brought a short film to the festival. And then the next year I was able to bring like another short project. And the experience is pretty amazing, not only because it's awesome to see your film in the big screen, but you get to meet filmmakers from all over the world.
Yep.
There's like panels opportunities where you can like ask them questions, learn from their experiences. They do like a bunch of parties, they give you discounts at restaurants, and then it's a lot of fun. So that's, I will say that from the Central Florida, it's one of like, other than Florida Film Festival, from like the really cool ones, and it's worth checking it out.
All right, and so I think John brought up a really good point. There are just a ton of festivals out there, and so when you're looking at short filmmakers, and especially our student short filmmakers, their budget is very limited. So let's say if all things being equal, they find 10 different good quality festivals to enter. What do you guys recommend in terms of what should they be looking at to determine which of those they should be spending their entry fees on?
Well, at least when I was a student, one of the lessons that I've learned was that me and my partner, we spent a lot of money in applying our film into like really huge film festivals, and pretty much disregarded the smaller ones, the local ones, and our film was really serious, but it was still a project that we did as students. And then obviously we didn't get into a lot of them, so it was a little bit of a disappointment. And from that, I've learned that you have to do research on in which festivals your short would really play well, and also research the categories in which it would play well. For example, a film that I've had in the past going through festivals has been like a surreal project. So I know I'm not gonna submit that into a general short film competition or just like for comedies. I'm gonna look film festivals that had a surreal category, or more like, something that will fall into it. And I would recommend you guys to really pay attention to that, and not necessarily feel like if you don't have your festival going to the New York Film Festival, it's not gonna be great. So really, really think about and do research where and how you're gonna spend that money.
Well, pretty much I think if I have to add something about that, it depends also what you want to approach or where is your audience. If you want, it depends. For example, there's festivals that are general, that have all type of teams, but you can also find those that help you network with the people you want to be. Because obviously here in Orlando, for example, if you want to stay here, you will have to go to those festivals, no matter if they are local or are more regional, but you have to look those and see. There's a lot of websites like Film Freeway. The other one is Stock something, I don't remember, but yeah, that can tell you how many years they are here in, for example, let's say Florida, and you can see, okay, these ones have a lot of experience, so let's try to go these ones. There's ones that are free. There's other ones, obviously, you have to pay. There's a lot of too many that are really, really good. So try to live, if you can be in them, try to find in a certain way the budget so you can apply to them.
And I think kind of staying on that topic of money, I think that individuals who are kind of approaching making a short film, especially once they graduate from college, I think money is always a big issue. What resources do you guys know of in terms of fundraising for short films, and anything specific here to the state of Florida? I don't know if there is, but what do you guys think in terms of people who are out there, they want to make a film, they need to raise the money, if for nothing else to feed their crew, what kind of resources are out there for them?
In my case, I did, the last 2 months, I did like 3 documentaries. For what we do is pretty much, obviously, this is private companies. But what we do is to figure out in a certain way what they are looking for, these companies, I mean. And obviously, we offer them, for example, if they are not interested in their logo being in the movie, The thing is that we give them another thing that they are interested. Today, digital platforms is one of the things that you can go to a client and tell, hey, I need this, but I know that you need this, so I can give you this in exchange or in a certain way. So we figure out that. Obviously, you can go to the film. Well, in my case, we start to build a good relationship with the film commissioner of Miami, and he always is open to help. If obviously they will not give you like the budget that you need, they help you to find people or partners that you can do or you can find. Also, if for the networking, that I believe is the most important thing. I start to find too many things. Is I don't have to buy it. There's people that want to like help you or want to be part of the project. So obviously, for example, if I know someone that have all the lighting equipment, I tell them, hey, I have this project. It's like a little pitch to them, obviously, too. So I start to tell them, hey, we have this project, you are interested? And they tell you yes or no. And you can start to build like the whole crew, the whole budget. If you don't have it, there's a way you can start to partner with others.
I talked a little bit about this in a previous panel, but I would say that in film producing, we shouldn't always think about money as getting literally money, but think about as its value and how much of that value you can write off from your production budget. So for example, if you need $3,000 to rent a location, but you are able to get access to a location for free to film your project, you're not getting cash $3,000, but you can write off those $3,000 from your budget. And the same applies to getting students that could volunteer on your project. Those are people that you will not have to pay, and you can write off from the production budget. Getting people donate food, donate goods, donate things for the production design. Maybe find like a local brand store or fashion designer that wants to like put their clothes out there, so maybe they can help you with the costume design of your project. So we shouldn't always talk about the money value in a film necessarily as in the cash value. And especially starting, and when you don't know people that it's gonna be like, hey, here, take the 10,000, do what you want with that. It's really important to come to this mindset in order to be able to make things happen. Because if you lock yourself down in which I don't have the budget, I'm not gonna make this project, you're not gonna make the project. So do not lock yourself in that and like really try to go out there and find resources.
Yeah, it's really about belief. It doesn't matter if it's a short, if it's a feature, if it's an app, if it's a business. People invest in people that are passionate about the work that they're doing. And if you learn the art of the ask, which you have to do in life, you then start to see that people will respond to you. You're going to get a lot of no's. It's okay. Really successful people get a lot of no's. But until you start to ask and you start to develop that style and that understanding of that push-pull of when to keep poking and when to keep saying, okay, I think I can get something out of this, you'll start to see that it comes back in droves. And then people will continue to collaborate with you, and you'll find different resources to offset that cost to your budget. And it's really a skill set that you want to focus in on, how to ask for things. And it will carry you for the rest of your life.
And to add something to that, I feel like you should always be willing to give something back, and understand that not every company and not every person necessarily needs a credit at the end of your short film. So be willing to offer things in return. Like if you are able to find catering through a local restaurant, they're not going to do a lot with the name of the restaurants at the end of your film. But if you, with your skill, can maybe produce a promotional video for the restaurant that they can put on their job site or in their website, they're going to happily help you. So be willing to offer things in return. And a lot of times I will say, like, when you ask for something, you should already kind of come with letting them know what you could do for them. So don't just like ask, but make it more like a trade.
Yeah, it really is all about relationships more than anything. So before we open up the floor for questions, do you guys have any recommendations on how do you make those relationships, and what's the best tool for networking? Because that word networking can be very scary, and we kind of think it's like, hey, let's do lunch, but it's really a lot more than that.
I mean, for
John,
me,
you look like you're ready. You're like leaning forward too.
this is his skill set.
And actually, I hate it.
Okay, I've known John a very long time. He hates it. I hate it too. But we've trained ourselves on it. You know?
I'm an introvert.
You can be good at it.
I'm an introvert. There is nothing that I hate more than going to an event by myself and having to talk to people. I just hate it. But I mean, I like Sheena said, I've known Sheena for 15.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So I mean, so it's practice. I mean, you guys are here, you want to be filmmakers or do something in the industry. You didn't just wake up day one and be great at it. You had to practice. And so, set goals for yourself. Go to an event and say, I'm going to hand out 5 business cards, or I'm going to talk to 3 people, or whatever it is. Set goals for yourself and grow them. And that's going to get yourself more comfortable in it, because it stinks. It totally stinks. Because going out and networking with people, you're going to run into 10 people, 7 of them are going to be either annoying or boring, and you're going to have to listen to their stories before you can tell your story. And it's just, but you get used to it, you get good at it. I mean, I don't have it on now, but typically I'll have like my Film Florida name tag on or a Film Florida shirt. And so a lot of times people might recognize the logo, and that strikes up a conversation. So I kind of let the logo do a little bit of the work for me. But yeah, there's nothing, and I'll go to functions where I need to speak with legislators, and I know they're there. And so you kind of scope out. And I have to build up the courage to walk over them and offer my business card and say, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to set up a meeting to talk about the industry. And 15 years into it, you still have to build up that courage. But I would say, start small, set goals. There are some other functions, like Women in Film have great networking functions every month here in Central Florida. There's 10, 15, maybe 20 people there. It's small. It's not intimidating. Start there, as opposed to going to some function that's going to have 450 people, and you got to try and find, who's your sugar daddy that's going to invest in your next project. I mean, it's not going to happen the first time out. It just isn't. And so start small, be realistic, and just practice and work at it. And am I allowed to say this? Have a drink. Yeah. It helps. I mean, it helps. It's the truth. I mean, figure out what works for you. I mean, whether it's a logo on a shirt or whether it's a drink to loosen you up a little bit, but just set small goals and practice.
And I think it's important to know that it's awkward, and that it's okay for it to be awkward. I got this job because I stood awkwardly stalking this woman, Jennifer Pennypacker, who was the film commissioner at the time. And I was at Full Sail, and I was at this event, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna post up, and maybe she sees me. No, she just got into a different conversation. Cool, I'll keep standing here. And I did, and I stood there awkwardly until I found that moment, and I got in and I got to talk with her. And in our very brief conversation, she knew I was a student, and so she was very well versed in what I needed and why I was there. And she's like, okay, I need you to talk to that person, and that person. And I was there with a bunch of Full Sail students, and some of them came up when they saw that I had gotten in. And she told them the same things. And then she kind of let me go off, and she watched. And that's the funny thing to hear, now that we're friends. And she's like, I watched. And some of the other Full Sail students went off. They went and got some food. And they stayed in their little group, and they hung out. She's like, I watched you, and you went out and you talked to every single person, and you waited awkwardly, and you got in. She gave me my job. She is the one who opened that door. And if I hadn't had stood awkwardly waiting, because I knew I needed to just introduce myself, I knew I needed to plant that seed with her because it was about the long-term relationship, I wouldn't have spent the last 10 years of my life doing what I'm doing, obsessed with my work every day. And so I think you just need to understand, you will stand there and it will be weird, and you will get cut in front of, and it's stupid. But it can pay off. Do your research, know who's in the room, be prepared to have something relevant to say, and know that it's okay if it's not perfect and it's clunky, because it can really, really pay off when you can say, hey, I met you at that event the other day. You know, and even if it was for 5 seconds, that's the icebreaker. It's the same as the logo, you know, having that commonality of where you saw someone, where you met someone. It can just start that conversation for you.
And the flip side, the flip side of it is you're going to get to a point, and Sheena and I have gotten to this point in certain circumstances. You're going to be the one that people start stalking because they want to talk to you. I mean, after you do it long enough and you meet enough people, you go to these same functions year after year after year, and you remember back the first one I had to go stalk people. You're going to go to that same function 5 and 10 years later, and people will be coming up to you because you've been there and now you're experienced and now they know who you are. And, you know, so it flips over time.
And I believe that perseverance too, because don't be afraid to be a PA in a production. Don't be afraid to start telling people, hey, you need help in this, you need help in this, I can do this. Or probably to get in a project that you really want. Probably for the moment, if you send 100 emails, they will not read it. But if you know someone that is there telling, hey, I'm available, if you need something, I can give you coffee or whatever. There's a lot of people that meet people like that and enter to the industry or enter to many positions, because pretty much on the set is that you start to create relationships, and they start to take you in mind for future projects. If you obviously do it well, you be kind and all the stuff. So try to apply no matter what. They will tell you probably no in a certain way or moment, but no matter. That's not gonna tell you like you will not do it anymore. So for me, that's one of the most important things that you can do.
I'll also say that networking doesn't only happen in networking events. I can relate to your story. I am extremely awkward. I hate going to networking events. I go there and I just sit in a corner. It's really hard for me. Once somebody starts a conversation with me, I'm a little bit better to open up, but it's hard. And I just have understood that. Having that said, at least for me, most of the networking happens in projects, in film sets, in going to panels, in taking classes. So when I'm working on a film set project, I want to make sure that I get to know everybody on the set. And it's not awkward, because it's not like I'm going to go to the grip and department, to the grip and electric department and say like, hey, I'm Valeska, I want to meet you. No, after you've been working for 12 hours with them and you're sitting them to eat together, the connections kind of come natural. And even if you're in a completely different department, it helps a lot getting to know everybody on the set, because there's going to be at least 10 people on each set. And also going to classes and going to panels. I'm a big nerd, and I love doing that. And to me, it just comes easily to go out and take drinks. And it's really more easy to connect with others that have a similar interest. Like if you're going to a screenwriting panel, you know that everybody that is in there has that similar interest to you. So it's going to be easy to talk to them than to talk to somebody that is into something completely different. So don't think that, networking and networking events is extremely important, but it's not the only way. It's not going to work for you if you are, the shining star of the networking event, but you don't talk with anybody on a film set, Yeah. So trying to find a balance between those two, I'll say.
Awesome advice. Thank you, guys. So with the time we have left, we're going to turn it over to questions from the audience.
Good afternoon. My name is Jamal Cornell. I'm in the Film Production Master's Program. And my question is, if we're being realists about everything, I know we have bad days in the industry. My question is, at the end of those bad days, when the day is over and you get ready to go sleep, do you ever just think, I'm still happy I'm doing this?
Yes, for sure. I will not do anything else if I'm not in the film. Every time, sometimes you have bad days, obviously. I will not tell you that sometimes you want to do a project or something the way you want it. But no matter what, if someone tells you no, for me, in my case, it's like, okay, I will find the yes, no matter what. And pretty much that's what I'm pretty much reaching my goals, because I have short, long goals no matter what. But for now, for me, the most important thing is to do the things with passion, because pretty much that's what's going to help you to build relationship, to help you to get what you really want to do, pretty much.
I think failure breeds success, and maybe that's just something I continue to tell myself. John and I worked, I don't think encompasses what we did in trying to work with the state to turn the fate of our future with an incentive program. And it was a body of a lot of people in the state of Florida, and some of those that weren't even in the state of Florida that saw the need for this effort. And I think it would have been really easy for us to get down, right? We don't have the incentive right now, but you know what? I think it makes us work a little bit harder, and we hustle harder, and we look at new and creative ways to accomplish what we need. And so if you're the type of person who will get frustrated quickly and start to give up, this is probably not the right industry for you. Because whether you're an actor, a producer, a director, someone in the infrastructure side, there's a whole lot of no. There's a whole lot of failures. And you've got to take that failure and figure out how to turn that into fuel. And if you can't do that, because A, you're not going to get a lot of sleep, so you've got to figure out ways to fill it up and use it as a driver to do other things. And I think if I had taken the failures of the lack of an incentive program and just accepted it and been like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll keep trying this, I wouldn't have landed 2 television series to come to the Orlando region without incentives. It was that iteration of, okay, we got to hustle in a different way. We got to figure out another way, because this is not a closed door. It's not. You've got to figure out a way to bust it open and pull all of your resources, talk to the people in your network, and just keep going forward. Again, going back to, you've got to fully believe in what you're doing, because it's not easy.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong getting to the end of the day. Well, I hope there's nothing wrong, because I do it. and you just sit down and you think, what am I doing? There are definitely days when I feel like a piñata, where I'm just getting beat from all different directions. I think if I ever feel that way too many days in a row, I probably would think, all right, maybe it's time for a change. Don't ask me what too many days in a row is. I don't know.
We haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there. And to Sheena's point, I do spend a lot of time meeting with legislators, working on the incentive program, and every legislative session that we don't come away with, I feel a little beaten down. But the truth is, and I continue to say this about legislative stuff, you can't grade legislative efforts on a pass-fail scale, because if that's the only way you do it, then you fail every single year. But there are a lot of nuances into it, and I think that goes with everything that we do in the industry. If you're too black and white, the way you look at things, I think it is really easy to get negative. But you come out of whether it's a legislative session, whether it's a networking event, whether it's a meeting of some kind, you try and find the positives, and you go to bed and you wake up the next morning and you feel refreshed, and you try and do better that day. I think that's the athlete in me from when I used to play sports when I was younger, is you win some, you lose some, you try and figure out why, and you do better the next time.
What I'm going to say might be a little silly, but when I'm working in the industry, long day, overtime, a lot of things went the wrong way. Something that helps me feel better is thinking about actors. Actors have to go to hundreds and hundreds of auditions in order to get one role. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They face rejection so many times a day, and when I'm working on production, I'm not necessarily exposed to that. Not only that, but once they get the role, everybody on set, it's quietly looking at them in a very vulnerable position, and they're being judged in a way. So I always think oh man, if I had a hard day on set today, I can't imagine how the actors did. So it might be silly, but I see the passion of these actors really keep on thriving for it, and it makes me feel more motivated and also a little bit better about the job that I'm doing.
Thank you for your question. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's actually really great advice. I love that. All right, do we have another question? Yes. Microphone delay. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Nico Durham. I'm a creative writing grad, and I'm currently in the entertainment business masters. Yeah. So my question is, what do you think makes a good producer?
What makes a producer?
A good producer.
Oh. Oh, that's
Somebody
a
who's
good question.
stubborn. Stubborn and innovative all at the same time. Somebody who isn't going to accept no as an answer, and is willing to consistently reinvent how they're going to accomplish something. Because I think it falls on the producer to look at both the 50,000-foot view and the extraordinary teeny tiny details that make a difference. And that is not easy. That is not a skill set that most people's brains are wired to do. And so if you're someone who loves that challenge and loves that balance of being able to figure it all out, that's someone that's a career choice that you should explore.
I think a good producer has to be stubborn, as she said.
Yeah.
It has to be somebody that values the time of everybody that is involved in a project, somebody that cares for their safety, and somebody that likes to play legal. I'm not saying that sometimes you're not gonna try to bend a few rules in order to get your production.
Don't
but-
say that in front of Sheena.
Yeah.
But that's when you call us and we help you
Right.
find out where to bend.
Exactly.
And we bend it together.
Exactly, but you're not gonna risk the safety of your crew in order to get an awesome shot. So I think a good producer is made of that stubbornness and caring for other people. So how can I make this great shot, but making sure that everybody's safe and making sure I'm valuing their time? So if you mix those two together, I think that could help, that could work.
And I also think that a good producer have a good team, because the people that you have surround you, believe me, that will help you a lot. I believe a good producer have to be organized no matter what, because there's a lot of things that are happening on the set at the same time, and there's a lot of things that you probably are thinking, and the director is coming telling you, I don't know, I need this, or I don't know, something happened with the camera, or something that you have to be obviously trying to find the ways to solve the things, no matter what. Obviously, as they are telling you, you have to take in mind that the safety is a priority, but also take in mind that time and budget sometimes is important too, because you can spend that something happening and you stay seated and wait for others to do pretty much your job. So I believe organize is a good thing that you have to do.
As someone as a self-proclaimed not filmmaker, I will tell you the same thing that I tell my almost 7-year-old. Number one rule, don't be a jerk. Mm-hmm. The rest of your life, don't be a jerk, and that'll solve a lot of your problems. Now, I don't mean don't be firm, don't be assertive, just don't be a jerk. Treat people with respect, and they're a lot more likely to help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, communication, we all kind of touched on it, but a good producer is someone who can communicate with people that are not like them. I think it's easy for us to communicate when we find a like-minded person, but in that role, you have to talk to a lot of different kinds of people, and you have to understand that you may have to change your voice, your tone, your approach, depending on that person's style, because you need to get something quickly. And so when you start to learn your audience, you start to adjust to make sure that you're communicating with them in a fashion that they're going to be able to receive that information quickly and be able to return in that conversation, so it's a very positive exchange. That's a skill set that will apply really well. And knowing that it's okay if you blow up. It happens. We're working really long hours. It's really stressful work. If you blow up at somebody or if somebody blows up at you, but if you're in that position where you got heated and your temper got out of control, always circle back. Never let that go. Come back around and be like, wow, that got out of hand. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to blow up on you like that. And I can't tell you that moment of admittance goes so far. And that makes the difference between getting hired again or working with that same team again. Just own it and say, yep, gonna work on that. Not gonna let that happen again.
A lot of really great advice here. And I know that the title of the panel is Producing Films in Florida, but I think that's great advice even if people decide that they don't want to stay in Florida, which why wouldn't you? You should all stay. But ladies and gentlemen, please give us a round of applause to our amazing panelists here. Thank you guys for sharing all of your expertise. And everyone have a great week at Hall of Fame 10.
Bye.